Once upon a time, in the middle of a long, cold, and snowy winter, a gentle queen sat beside her window, quietly sewing. Outside, soft snowflakes covered the land in white. As the queen stitched, she suddenly pricked her finger with a needle, and a few drops of bright red blood fell onto the fresh snow on the windowsill. She looked at the beautiful contrast of red against white and softly whispered to herself, "I wish I had a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony wood." Not long after, the queen's wish came true. She gave birth to a baby girl whose beauty was beyond words. Her skin was as white as snow, her lips were deep red, and her hair was black as night. The king and queen named her Snow White. Sadly, happiness did not last long. Soon after Snow White's birth, the kind queen became ill and passed away. The entire kingdom mourned her loss. After a year had passed, the king married again. His new wife was very beautiful, but her heart was cold. She was proud, selfish, and cruel, and she could not tolerate anyone being more beautiful than herself. The new queen owned a magical mirror. Every single day, she stood before it and proudly asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" The mirror would always reply, "You, my queen, are the fairest of all." Hearing this pleased the queen greatly, until the day Snow White grew older. As years passed, Snow White grew into a sweet and lovely child. By the time she was only 7 years old, her beauty had surpassed everyone in the kingdom, even the queen herself. One morning, when the queen asked her mirror the usual question, the mirror answered truthfully, "You are fair, O queen, it is true, but Snow White is fairer than you." The queen was filled with rage. Her pride shattered, and her jealousy turned into burning hatred. From that moment on, she could not stand the sight of Snow White. Determined to destroy her, the queen summoned a huntsman and ordered him, "Take Snow White deep into the forest. Kill her and bring me her heart as proof." The huntsman led Snow White far into the dark forest. When he raised his knife, Snow White realized what was about to happen. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, and begged, "Please, dear huntsman, spare my life. Let me go, and I promise I will never return to the castle." Seeing her innocence and kindness, the huntsman's heart softened. He could not bring himself to harm her. "Run, child," he said gently. "Escape into the forest and never come back." To deceive the queen, he killed a wild boar and took its heart to the palace, pretending it was Snow White's. The cruel queen believed Snow White to be dead and ordered the heart to be cooked and eaten. Meanwhile, Snow White was all alone in the forest. Darkness surrounded her, and every sound frightened her. She ran for hours, crying and calling for help, until she was completely exhausted. As the sun began to set, she discovered a small, strange cottage hidden among the trees. Inside the cottage, she saw 7 tiny chairs, 7 small plates, 7 cups, and 7 little beds. Hungry and tired, Snow White tasted a little food from each plate and drank a little from each cup. Then she lay down on the smallest bed and quickly fell asleep. That evening, 7 dwarfs returned home from mining in the mountains. "Someone has been in our house," they exclaimed. They searched every room and finally entered the bedroom, where they saw Snow White sleeping peacefully. "She is so beautiful," they whispered. They decided not to wake her. In the morning, Snow White awoke and was startled to see the 7 dwarfs standing around her. They spoke kindly to her, and she told them her sad story, the wicked stepmother, the huntsman who spared her life, and her long journey through the forest. Feeling sorry for her, the dwarfs said, "If you stay with us, keep the house tidy, cook, clean, and so you may live here safely. We will protect you." Snow White gratefully agreed and lived happily with the dwarfs. But every morning before leaving for work, they warned her, "Do not open the door to strangers. Your stepmother is dangerous." Back at the palace, the queen stood before her mirror once more. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" The mirror replied, "You are fair, O queen, it is true, but Snow White, beyond the hills with the 7 dwarfs, is fairer still." Furious, the queen disguised herself as an old peddler woman and went to the dwarf's cottage. She tricked Snow White with tight laces and nearly killed her, but the dwarfs saved her just in time. The queen tried again with a poisoned comb, and once more Snow White collapsed. Yet the dwarfs rescued her. Finally, the queen prepared her most dangerous trick of all, a red and white apple poisoned on one side. Disguised as a farmer woman, she convinced Snow White to take a bite. This time, Snow White fell to the ground and could not be revived. The dwarfs were heartbroken. They placed Snow White in a glass coffin on the mountain and guarded her day and night. One day, a prince passed through the forest and saw the beautiful girl in the glass coffin. He begged to take her with him. As the coffin was carried away, it jolted, and the poisoned piece of apple fell from Snow White's throat. Snow White opened her eyes. Overjoyed, the prince asked her to marry him, and she agreed. A grand wedding was held, and the wicked queen was punished for her cruelty. Snow White and the prince ruled their kingdom with kindness and love. Snow White never forgot the 7 dwarfs who had saved her life, and they were always welcomed as honored guests. And they all lived happily ever after.